Welcome to the Develop Yourself podcast, where we teach you everything you need to land your first job as a software developer by learning to develop yourself, your skills, your network, and more. I'm Brian, your host. Today, I'm very excited to have a very special guest on the Develop Yourself podcast. I'll be speaking with engineering leader and author of Interview Champion, Bhupinder Singh, popularly known as the Dynamic Singh. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really interested to speak to you, particularly about this book that you've written about interviews. And you're kind of like, you wrote a book called Interview Champion. And I'm really curious to get your take on interviews. I myself just got off the interview circuit. I feel like there's more and more people I'm talking to that are doing interviews. It's just a hot topic. It's always a hot topic. And they're so weird. So I'm really curious to dive into really how you break them down and tips you have for the audience and people out there, or even me, as we go through the coding interviews and tech interviews out there. But before we get into all that, I want to know a little bit about your background and how you got into coding.
So for me, I'm Bhupinder. I'm a tech professional living in Berlin, and I have over a decade of experience in tech. I have worked at early age startups, scale-ups, tech unicorns, and Fortune 100 companies. And fun fact about me is I started coding when I was 12, and I competed in roller skating competitions, and I have won some medals, luckily.
What kind of roller skating? Were these dancing or just
speed
skating in a rink?
Speed skating.
Okay.
And I started coding when I was 12, and then I started learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, copy-pasting snippets from here and there. I made my first website when I was in the 8th grade. So that's how my journey started. This is a bit about me. And later on I did computer science engineering, did freelancing and all those kind of stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So pretty traditional path. I mean, a lot of software engineers that started around that age, they got introduced to it somehow and they followed their curiosity. I didn't get started till almost 30. But a similar thing, I saw somebody do something on the web and I was hooked. I was like, this is how stuff works. And then I just kept following that curiosity and building all sorts of stuff. Very cool. So fast forward to now, you're writing books on interviews. You've done all these companies. Why are you obsessed with interviews? And what led you to write a whole book on the topic?
Oh, that's a really great question. And there's always a reason why someone would do something, right? And for me, it has to be big enough than just making money, right? Because I'm a kind of person, if I don't see an impact coming out from my actions, or if I don't see I could bring value, or if I don't see I enjoy the process, because that's what I most like. I like to enjoy the process, enjoy the thing. And that what makes me learn a lot in general. So it's very research oriented. It's based on the true experiences. It has also a lot of questions which are really asked, in the sense of not only technical. It has technical questions as well. It has behavioral questions as well. But what I have not tried to do is give an answer to it in the sense of this is the 10 questions, and if you learn it, you will clear the interview.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants just tell me what the secret to the interview. And I'm like, there is no secret, but that's cool that you wrote it in that kind of way. So is it more offering patterns or things that you've seen over the years and kind of saying, here's an approach to these types of problems?
Yeah, exactly. So what I've tried to give is tools to people to really think and understand what is the expectation and how do you match that expectation. And it's also more about becoming that person who would fit into that organization, because let's say even you crack the interview and later on you found out that this organization doesn't resonate with the kind of person I am, because everyone has a very unique personality. Every organization has a different personality in the sense of they have different values, visions, culture. Sometimes you fit, sometimes you don't. It's nothing wrong about it. It's life, so you figure out later on, you join the organization, oh damn, I might have made a wrong decision.
I've been there a couple of times,
Yeah. So that was my initial idea, to give basically the tools to people, and then started writing and completed in 3 years. Last year I went I had so it's 13 chapters and 3 bonus chapters. So 13 chapters for almost each round. Depends on the size of the organization. I've covered everything from startups to like big size company. I would not say Fang, although I've cleared one of the Fang
Yeah.
interviews. I would not say that I'm focusing Fang folks, but in terms of technical questions. But this book can be taken by them as well, and they can benefit for it from very well. Because from the technical perspective, for Fang, you have to really prepare a bit differently, I would say. That's how it
Yeah.
works, and that's the true reality. But in terms of the rounds and everything, it also covers what is required by the Fang, what's asked as well. Like there are a lot of questions from the technical perspective, and yeah, so on. So finally done with the book. That's very nice. And then I gave it to all the people who are working in the organizations, my friends, colleagues, people I knew. And I was very fortunate to know, like, come across such talented people I've worked with. So people at HelloFresh, people at Spotify, people at
Oh,
Google,
cool.
Apple, Salesforce, and companies like that. They have reviewed this book, so it's very well. They have seen it work for them as well, and I've seen it work for me
Yeah.
as well. So I have also changed organization in 2022, and it worked amazingly. So it's all result oriented. It's data based. It's not like I'm coming with some fiction stories and I'm
Yeah.
trying
Right.
to, so it doesn't work like that. Facts
Yeah.
and truth is always, is always like a shining sun. It works out in the sense of you cannot deny,
Yeah.
like, no, the sun doesn't rises or something like that. It works out. So yeah.
I like that. I like the fact that you spent that much time and you also used it for yourself and people that you knew in your circle that are really top-notch companies. I think that's a lot of the problems with the advice we read online is that it's like anecdotal and it's like, oh, I went to an interview and this worked out. And then you think, oh, cool. But that's like one person in one specific scenario. So this is really interesting that you did it this way. And that's just cool to hear. So doing all these interviews, I mean, that's a lot. I thought I did a lot of interviews. I think I've done somewhere, maybe around 100 in the
Yeah.
last 10 years. As a manager on the other side, I got a bit obsessed with them, but you've definitely beat me in your obsession in being more data driven. I have a lot of anecdotes that I haven't really categorized them as much as I may have should.
Yeah.
So out of all these interviews, what was your worst performance and what was your
Oh,
best?
I mean, how I like to say it, like, frankly, worst is a very subjective word from my perspective, because, like, what you consider worst today was at some time your best, in the sense, like, you were doing your best at
Good
that
point.
point in time, right? And
Good point.
especially when you're trying to become better every day, if you look what you did yesterday, you would think like, oh, that was bad, right? And that is very unfair to yourself to judge on that basis, because at one point in time, like, there was a gap in your knowledge. Then you filled that gap and you became better. Now everyone have more or less equal opportunity. People coming from boot camp, the big companies are ready to hire people from any walks of life. So that's
That's true.
amazing. And I got a lot of
Hmm.
rejections on the first call. That was worse, because they would just tell me like, your experience is not enough for this opportunity. And I was like, what do you mean not enough? Like, I could
Yeah.
code, I could clear up your interviews, but they would never let me go the first
Wouldn't
rounds.
even let you get in the door, right? And you're like, why'd you
Yeah,
even call me?
exactly. And it basically used to hurt back in the days, but definitely I'm very grateful for the opportunities I got. I worked in the very good organizations, and like startups, big tech companies, unicorns. I've been part of acquisitions as well, company which got acquired by
Oh,
big
those are fun.
companies.
Yeah.
So that's a different kind of really interesting experience. You learn a lot. You go through a lot of different use cases and different scenarios. You have to change, basically come up with a different mindset to work suddenly when the company got acquired, because now you
That's
need
right.
to, right, what I'm talking about, right?
I've
uh,
been there twice now. Yeah, I'm going through that at my current job, and I'm with that at my last job, big one. It was interesting. It can either catapult your career in many ways,
yeah.
or it can be difficult because essentially it's you're switching companies when you're working for the same company.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And over the time, like I built a mindset like where I see rejection as redirection to something better, because I have seen it myself. It's a proof, like at one point in time, the organization I was thinking like I want to get into it, I was very excited about it. uh,
Hmm.
I got rejected, and later on I worked more on myself and became better, and I cracked an even bigger organization later on. So
That feels good.
th- right, so for me, like the worst results I got, like when I in the first rounds, and also when and on the later rounds as well, like especially when you're moving through like 2 months of process, and then you get rejected in fifth round or fourth round or whatever, then it's a lot
Oh
of
yeah, yeah.
pain. But it's like I would say worst results, not worst interviews, because those are results. They have nothing to do in terms of like how much I know. Sometimes there are many other different candidates who are better than me, and like
Hmm.
it's a competitive world, and then what you need to do is you need to improve. You cannot play the victim card there. You cannot say, oh, all happened to me. So yeah, and my best performance was in 2022 when I interviewed for 7 organizations using my book, the chapters I wrote, and I got 6 offer letters, which was very interesting, from starting from early startups to big fintech companies, where I was able to match their expectations. And I'm not really counting here the interviews which I do with the HRs, because when you are at a certain range of salary, especially in the upper range of salary, then the opportunities are very
Hmm.
less as compared to what you really want. So every time I started hunting for a job in my career, I had to do at least 30 to 40 HR calls to understand what are the requirements, if they could match my expectations, if I could match their
That's right.
expectations, the role.
Hmm.
And it's pretty normal. So people who are just starting up, and then who are getting like not who are not getting the results, and within their few calls, I would really say is pretty normal. Need to knock the door quite a lot of time to until it get opens for you. The right one especially. So keep going.
For sure.
Yeah, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what you said there, both about not having that victim mindset, because I think a lot of people look at rejection. Well, first of all, you said like rejection is redirection. And then also not falling victim to that idea like, oh, poor me, or the interview process is so unfair. I hate whiteboard interviews. I'm going to avoid all the companies that ask these questions. And I just think that's the wrong way to approach interviews. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad you kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
You have
And what
you obviously have sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one more last point to add, which people might think that like I have experienced myself. Like I have given all the rounds. Like I went through the interview process for 2 months, and at the very end, the company said, like we decided that our priorities have changed. Now this job opening is no more available, and
Mm-hmm.
that hurts
Mm-hmm.
quite a lot. I had a dude who interviewed me like for 2 months for their organization, and at the end they figured out they cannot hire me remote because of some laws and everything. And I have gone through those kind of frustrations as well. So it's not all roses, and it's not all thorns as well. So life works in seasons. Sometimes it works uh, even in your first go. Sometimes you have to work harder to get your results, but just keep going and working hard on yourself, becoming better. Look from a perspective of like, I'm doing it for myself. I'm becoming better. So even if you don't get the result, uh, my mom used to say, like the hard work never goes to vain. Like hard work always pays off, and I can see that like every
Yeah.
time. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to be said for just having a lot of grit and
yes,
determination. Honestly, it sounds cliche, but it's true. Like I don't consider myself a very good programmer. I got into it a little bit later, but through just persistence, I got to be a little average and a little above average, and kind of just learn like, okay, I'm starting a little bit later than everybody else, and just applying that pressure to my learning. I see that with anybody that's successful in any endeavor they take on.
yeah.
So you have this book. It's an amazing resource. It sounds like. Are there any other resources that you use when you get ready for interviews?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I did over time was I created my own knowledge base over the years. So, for example, what it helps with is when you want to interview, you're not searching for stuff here and there. You know, if you have your own knowledge base and you have written in your own way, then you can understand it quickly. And I used to make flow maps for everything to capture the knowledge or a concept in a precise way so that I can just look at it and just I know the answer, what I need to say or what I need to learn. Because searching for knowledge is difficult, but definitely there are services which
Hmm.
I really recommend is which include front end masters, lead code,
Oh yeah.
uh, Algo
Hmm.
Expert is pretty good. Uh, and
I like
I
that
would
one.
like to shout out to one person who is really great at what they do. His name is Will Sentence from CodeSmith, uh, and his JS courses on front end master are highly recommended. Like the way he goes
Really? Okay.
deeper into concepts like closures, event loops. I mean, you would have never heard of it in any other course or blog or tutorial and whatsoever. So hats
I
off
got to check this
to
out.
that person. Yes. For system design, I would recommend Alex Zhu. Shout out to him as
Oh
well.
yeah.
Amazing book. Like really
I
crisp,
love those
on
books.
spot, very cool guy. For Node.js, I would recommend courses by Samir Bona and Stephen Grider.
Hmm.
He's on Udemy.
Oh yes.
So that
Yep.
dude is
Awesome.
also amazing, awesome. So these are the people have really helped me like to learn, go ahead, do stuff, and from time to time they're releasing their new stuff, and you need to just keep yourself updated, and there's no other way around when you're in a tech industry. It's moving so fast. Every day someone is launching something new. So yeah.
Seriously. Dude, that's funny. I forgot about Stephen Grider. I love that guy, and I totally forgot where I knew him from until you just said that name. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's cool. I think I'm on the right track. Then I use some of these same services, so I feel a little more confident about me using them now. Um, what are some of the non-technical pieces of advice that you have for people out there on the interview circuit?
Mm. That's really an interesting question because um, I think what worked for me is self reflection is very important. So, in order to get results, you need to look into what you are doing wrong and also what you are doing right. So, it's all based on data. So, self reflection helps you understand what needs to be done in able to achieve something. So this is really a good approach. So I always say, like, if you want to climb a Mount Everest, you would have to become that person who can climb the Mount Everest. The Mount Everest never
Yeah.
comes down, is not coming down. You can keep watching it. It's nothing is changing, uh, and
Hmm.
another good approach which I take is like taking failure as an opportunity to improve, and always ask for feedback. So no matter what round it is, even in the HR rounds when I used to get rejected, I would just say, hey, could you can I get you for 2 minutes, if you could share a bit of feedback, what could I improve, that'll be really helpful. If you ask it politely, people are really kind. They really tell, like, you are lacking here, you didn't mention these things, I was looking for these answers, and so on. That's really important. So
It's a good one.
always, you know until you knock the door is not going to open. That's how it is. So you need to
Yeah.
ask for it, and then most of the people are really kind. They will tell you, or they will tell you that like they're busy or something. They can send you an email back with the feedback, and that's really
Yeah.
kind of them. So that's very nice. And there are people who have like uh, lost jobs right now because of layoffs, and yes, like uh, you cannot change what already has been done, but what you can do is you can look forward and improve and get that next opportunity. So I would really say, well, when I talk with some people, I do also mentor a lot of people. Some of people also have that like a victim mentality kind of a thing, in the sense
Hmm.
of they think layoff happened and they got laid off, and they were not good enough. But that's not really the reality.
Yeah.
you know the reality is the business wants to stay afloat, and they want to be
Yep.
very like they don't need to look into your budget. And now what they see
Mm-hmm.
is, in order to be profitable or at least be in the business, they see they need to control their budget, and they need to let some people go off. And that's the sad reality of it. But it
It's
has
harsh
nothing to
reality.
do with
Yeah.
you. I mean, they will
Yeah.
keep people
You're a
who.
number on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Exactly. So some people like to look at in the, like, I was not good enough. The other person was kept and I was laid off. The other person was kept
Yeah.
because his role, what he does, was critical to running the business. And there was no, maybe not redundancy, or he knew quite a lot that and things like that. And there are only few people who have that kind of a thing, who have been in the organization for quite some time. I've also seen people working in an organization for 20 years and still got laid off. So
Yeah.
there
That's
is
rough.
no real reason for it, frankly speaking. So there is no reason for blaming yourself for that. So please stop doing that. I would love to say that. uh, and like Buddha said, like, what you think you become, like what you feel you attract, and what you imagine you create. I always like to remember this.
Ooh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. So, like, never take your current job for granted. Work hard, because that's your commitment to yourself. Because at the end of the day, you need to show your face in the mirror and you're answerable to the person who's looking back to you in the mirror. And sometimes things work, sometimes not. But if you give your best, at least you can sleep very calmly, and you will have the greatest sleep of all time. And what it does is, it always keeps your self confidence high, because you did your best. It didn't work out, it has nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
you know uh, so
Oh
yeah, that,
yeah.
yeah. Make good friends, like find mentors, learn from them. That's very important. Stay in touch with them. I have some mentors as well, I really like to learn from. And
Mm-hmm.
like, understand their feedback, understand from their experience what I'm doing right, not wrong, what steps should I take in my career. And yeah, that's a lot, some of the advice this I have.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Especially, I mean, I was a victim of a victim. I was part of a layoff recently, and I mean, I have no hard feelings towards the company, but I feel good about what I did there, and I'm still friends with a lot of the people that are still there, and I have a good network now, and I've seen every engineer that I worked with now, I believe, except for one, has found a new opportunity. Some have found new opportunities within the same company, so they're doing like the boomerang and going back in, and I had recommendations I could get from people now that work there. So I left on a good note, like many of us did. But yeah, I would hate to go to a company and, like you said, not be able to look myself in the mirror, because you never know when you're going to need those connections,
Yeah.
or you just value those people because maybe they're really smart or just nice people and you want to keep in touch. Yeah, great advice. Also, that saying you said from the Buddha, that was a good one. That was really good. I got to write that down, put that on my wall or something like that.
Thanks,
Now,
man.
I want to ask you this: people people usually aren't too good at interviewing. Interviewing is a weird thing.
Mhm.
Why do you think that people aren't good at interviewing? Just
uh,
generally.
I mean, there could be many reasons in general, like, but what I have seen myself while interviewing other people, and seen myself while interviewing as well, is it's basically lack of preparation. I have seen it more with the people who are at senior positions, because they come quite
Oh.
unprepared, in the sense of, because they get an illusion
Mm-hmm.
that they have are in a senior position and they cannot forget anything, and they never revisit the basics. And when it is asked in the interviews, they're basically thinking, oh, let me think about it, I cannot remember very well. They know the concept, but they are not able to say those words or jargons which would point out, in the sense of they really know it. They could explain
Mm-hmm.
the idea behind it, but the why, the how, and those things are really missing, which are really important for any answer to be complete, in the sense, right? um, and
Yeah.
overestimating your memory,
Fair
that's
enough.
a very good reason why people are not able to do better in the interviews. Uh, so people forget about things. So if you have your notes, like I said, like I have my notes, what it does is like it gives you a single knowledge base. I mean, I have learned from many people. I mean, I mentioned only few names, right? I have learned from many
Hmm.
blogs, people, which I have basically curated in my own knowledge base, in my own words, right? Uh, that really helps because every time you are brushing the same words, same knowledge base, your memory also get trained, and it doesn't have to do a lot of
Yeah.
work to really learn and understand, make sense of those sentences because it seems familiar. That I have read this before because it's your own, right? So that was a would be my
Yeah.
suggestion to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think because interviews are so novel experience, it's, if you don't do them a lot, it becomes
Yeah.
really unique. And like you said, you rely on memory or think, oh, I've done this for a while. I'm a great coder. I work at my job and I do really well there. So therefore, I'm going to do really well in this interview. And that's just, it's a totally different ball game that you're stepping into in an interview situation. Um, Now, what about boot camp grads? Everybody's talking about the economy, the software developer job market. I have a lot of
Mhm.
opinions on that in general, and I think a lot of it's been blown out of proportion, especially when we talk about software developers. But I do know that it's always been hard to get that first job.
Hmm.
What would you tell a coding boot camp grad in 2024 about landing their first role?
Oh, that's a very good point actually, and a lot of people reach out to me in the DMs as well, asking like, "Hey, I'm in this boot camp. What should I do? Or can
I
you help
bet.
me in some referrals or something like that?" Uh, so,
Hmm.
from my experience, what I would like to share is software engineering is a very practical job, and you can only do or know stuff by just doing stuff. So you would have to
Yeah.
get your hand dirty, uh, and the simple way to improve on that is think of any idea, pick up any application in the world, Airbnb, and just look at one of the functionality. Let's say searching for new hotels or rooms or whatever in a city.
Hmm.
Just try to copy that and develop that and make your own prototype. One of the suggestions I really give to people who are coming from bootcamp and they who are really feeling it difficult to land a job or an interview. I mean, I have
Hmm.
seen a lot of people do it, and I have seen it myself as well, do it back in the days, although it was I sent it to someone and it worked out. They found out like, oh, he's a good guy, let's take his interview and so on. So what
Okay.
you can do is right now what I've seen is do a revamp of someone's website, let's say just a landing page, right? And if you are good at what you do, really improve on it, take design references. There's a application called Mobbin.design. They have UI layouts from all the applications in the world, from iOS to web and all those things,
Okay.
right? Take inspiration from that, change a bit of the things, and like create your own version of, let's say you want to apply to Spotify, make a new music
Hmm.
player theme kind of a thingy. And if you want to apply to Airbnb, change their homepage and make it more easier, and then come up with a write up that why do you think this new revamp is better than what exists? What are the data points? And try to think from the perspective of a user and the organizations. Try to think like how this new UI would really help the organization to do the business better, and
Hmm.
how it will help the users to get benefit from this application. Then simply deploy it on Netlify, right? Uh, and look into the people who work in that organizations, especially hiring managers and CTO, or if they are startup, just co-founders, right? Put that Netlify link with the screenshot on LinkedIn and simply tag those people and say,
It's a good one.
"Hey, I love what you do. I'm a really big fan of your organization. This is what I came up
Yep.
with. Uh, I would really love to work for you. And if I got a chance, I'll be very grateful." And just post it on LinkedIn, and you would be very surprised. I don't see anyone is so unkind they will not really even care to look at it, right? So
That's a really good point.
yeah.
I remember a dude that was my mentor told me that like 10 years ago. That's what he was suggesting people do. I used to see people do more of that, and for whatever reason, I think people have been spoiled by the easy apply button or something on LinkedIn, because I just don't see people do that kind of stuff anymore. And you're right, that would make me like, I feel like, well, now I have to at least look at this thing and
Yeah.
like probably give you a call if it doesn't suck.
And worst case, let's say you didn't got expect like you didn't got into the job, you didn't got the offer or whatever, you get got a new project to put it on your portfolio website as a case study.
Yeah, that's
And
right. Yep.
so for the next organizations, when you apply, you will say, hey, I did this and this is on my website. It is deployed, have a look. For this is for mostly, probably you would think this is for the front enders. For the back engineers, I would say create APIs,
Hmm.
learn how to use databases, learn about scalability. That's really important. Uh, like learn about open API spec, rate limiting, also
Mm,
what are the best security practices, what is OAuth, uh, like how to use those kind of things. What are microservices, why they are better than monolithic applications, and not really know the theory part of it. Just implement one thing, and I will tell you how you can do it from the perspective of uh, any big organization. Just go to their network tab and see what API calls they're doing, right? And try to understand this is
mm,
mostly like CRUD operations. So you can simply create a web application and create endpoints for, let's say, searching uh, air or rooms in the Airbnb, and then you come up with like, oh, what should I use? Should I use Elasticsearch in this? Oh, I need to learn
oh yeah, right.
Elasticsearch now, right? Uh,
Hmm.
so then that curiosity factor really leads you to places. That's what I'm trying to say. And most important, have an impressive LinkedIn profile, have it really written down what you know, what you did, have some projects to show on. uh, Go to hackathons, network there, go to meetups, talk with people, share a link tree or any kind of a small link with them. Hey, this is about me, you can find my projects and get a profile
Yep.
there. That really helps. That really helps, I think so. These are few suggestions. What I have understood are working for people who have got the
Hmm.
jobs. Some of them are my friends as well. Some of the people I have worked who are my colleagues or ex-colleagues, they have come from the bootcamp background as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
So,
People are getting hired. I think that's the problem with being online too much. The either you either hear the triumph stories or you hear the worst experiences, and those always get the over. They get most of the attention online. Either sides of the spectrum.
yeah,
People that have like went to a million interviews and can't pass them, or the person that's hired at Google, and all the people in between we don't hear about as much.
yeah,
And also,
yeah,
99% of developers just aren't on LinkedIn in the first place. So we have a
yeah,
very skewed idea of reality, I believe,
yeah.
in many ways on the internet.
That is really true, because I mean, I would also say that like the person who got hired at Google's also was in somewhere between in that spectrum at one point in time. He just
That's
decided
right.
to take it very seriously and go ahead, improve on himself or herself or themselves, and get the things done. So yeah.
Yeah. Bhupinder, before I let you go, I got to get your hot takes on a few subjects if you're cool with that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that.
All right, cool, man. LinkedIn versus X.
So, that's a good question, because LinkedIn has its own users and X has its own audience in itself. But I prefer LinkedIn at the moment, because you meet a lot of professionals from all across the world, and they're all professional conversations going on. Sometimes X tends to be too much, but
Yeah.
definitely it's a really great platform, and I would definitely embrace it as well. But at the moment, I'm just focused on LinkedIn. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just what you prefer. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like I like X for finding tech news that's more cutting edge. Like I feel like tech news happens faster there, but I like LinkedIn because it's not anonymous either. So I feel like the conversations are generally more productive, let's say.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
how about videos versus books when it comes to learning?
So, so it really depends on what I'm learning. So I prefer self-help books quite a lot, and for that, I like to basically listen audiobooks at 1.5x and also read them at the same time, because in that way, I'm able to capture the knowledge from two sense organs, and that becomes more easier to grasp. And definitely videos are great for coding, and also books are really good. And there are some of the great amazing books which has been written, and we don't have videos for them, so definitely you cannot skip that content at any cost. So yeah.
Very, very good point. There's some like timeless classics out there that you just kind of need to read, especially if you're in software development. There's so many like really foundational books out there. You can't just get in a video for everything. Plus, I feel like we learn faster when we read stuff. But like most people, I like videos too. It's a good take. I got to take that advice too on the listening and reading at the same time. That's a really smart way to do that. Very good advice.
I think that would really it really works somehow. I mean, I stumbled upon that. I was trying to find something while I was listening an audiobook. It was not very clear, and I thought like, wow, man, it's just working so fast, you know. So
yeah, because your brain's like wanders. You ever read a book and you get to the end of the page and you're like, wait, what? I don't even know what I just read. Or like you get a few pages in and you're like, wait, I just read something. I don't even know what the heck I read. I was just following along.
Yeah.
How about this? Entrepreneur or 9 to 5?
Ooh, that's a good one, man. I mean, I'm going to say something now. People will think, wow, what is this dude saying? I really feel like entrepreneurship in general is a buzzword these days and everyone likes to use it. But for how I see it, like I think entrepreneurship is all about problem solving real world problems, having a long-term vision and ability to recognize opportunities, taking risks, being creative, being action oriented, and very customer focused. And also like doing a lot of networking and collaboration, because business is all about that and everything is all about that. Even in job these days, we are seeing that, right? So I will definitely choose entrepreneurial mindset, and even it's needed in 9 to 5 jobs, right? Because at the end of the day, you are working for customers. And if you are really, if you don't have a business in the terms of you don't have a customers in your for your company, then the company would not be able to stay afloat. And then you don't have a job at the moment. So in the end, you're working for the customer. Customer is the king. And by all means, we are here to serve them. So for that, definitely entrepreneurial mindset is really required. It doesn't matter you're doing a business or you're doing a 9 to 5 job. It's very customer oriented these days. I think it's always has been like that. So yeah.
I'm kind of glad you said that. I mean, I don't see anything wrong. Like you could call me an entrepreneur. I have a business. You do as well. But I also enjoy my 9 to 5. And I feel like if you take the entrepreneur mindset, like you've alluded to, and take that to your 9 to 5, you can make a lot of change and be really valuable and find a lot of like compensation, upward mobility, more stability, because you're playing with somebody else's money at the end of the day and not all yours. And, I think the idea of like freedom from a 9 to 5 is a bit of a fantasy. Like I have a business and that's work. At the end of the day, it's all just work. It's who are you working for, yourself or somebody else? And you're always working for somebody else, the customer, essentially, like you've said.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like when you work for an organization, you should work in a way that it's your own business. It's your own work. Because I mean, until you get that feeling that I am working for my own mission, I'm working for my own vision, I'm working for myself, then you would not be able to deliver. So in that sense, everyone is a businessman in itself, and everyone is a salesperson, because you even to get interviews, to get the job, you need to sell yourself.
That's a really good one. Oh my God. I've seen so many salespeople that have gone from sales into software engineering, and they tend to do really, really well. Like even if they're not that good at coding, they end up getting a lot more interviews. It's a phenomenon I've just seen for the last 10 years that I've been doing this really and teaching at boot camps and stuff. It's really funny. When I see a salesperson, I'm like, they're probably going to do well. They're probably going to do fine in this profession. Yeah. Very funny. Yeah.
That's really, really true, actually. Then the number of people transitioning to software engineering is crazy at the moment. And I'm very happy, like the industry is also accepting people from all walks of life. So that's some very good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice thing. I met a guy on a tangent, didn't graduate high school, and I was shocked to learn this. And he is an engineering manager. And I'm like, wait, what?
Wow.
I mean, that was shocking. And like, I think that we live in the San Francisco Bay Area where degrees mean a lot less than in other parts of the country, but still pretty phenomenal story to think that you could teach yourself something, work for years and years and get to a level like that, and then not have like a high school diploma, which was an anomaly, but very interesting. Um, anyway, TypeScript versus JavaScript.
Ooh, I mean that's pretty easier one. Frankly speaking,
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah. I mean
JavaScript, right?
TypeScript. Yeah, TypeScript any day. I would say because it saves time with type safety. It's very strongly typed. Easier to have collaboration. Like you define the API, everyone can understand you on the team. What you need to do with this component or with this particular whatever service you are writing. Compiler checks really helpful for better productivity. That's really amazing. I would say, I mean, JavaScript is also very good, but I would say it's more towards the lightweight projects, and it's really good for rapid prototyping and for even for a production level application. Where a lot of startups just prefer JavaScript because, frankly, when the initial stage, you really don't know what is the customer market fit,
Yeah.
and at that point, you cannot worry too much about like, oh, let me define the types and so on. It's more about the speed and delivering and really figuring out the product market fit. And yeah, so
That's fair.
choose whatever in whatever parts of phase of your company you are, or whatever phase of your project you are in. Just choose it wisely. For a large scale production application, TypeScript is amazing and is must required, because if you're serving 100,000 customers and you have a bug to solve, and then you're scratching your hand for last 2 hours to
Yeah.
fix it, then the stakes are very high and you cannot afford that. So I would really recommend TypeScript. And that's why I say TypeScript any day. So yeah.
Maybe I'm too easily influenced. You've kind of sold me now because I'm thinking about some of these type coercion bugs I've dealt with in large apps, and then trying to figure out like what was going on, and then debugging them. And I could see that just wouldn't have been an issue with TypeScript.
Yep.
I'm learning still TypeScript. I've been writing JavaScript for quite a while, and TypeScript does not come as naturally, but I've been having a lot of fun learning it. But yeah,
Wow.
good take there. Right tool for the right job overall, essentially.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's really the mantra, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Which leads me to React versus some other framework.
Okay. I mean, if a lot of people are hearing from the front end community, they're gonna like think like, what is this guy saying really? So I will clear it up for everyone. Like, the role of the technology is to enable you to develop applications which are scalable, reliable, secure, and performant, and compatible and cost effective. Cost effective in terms of that you can find a lot of engineers, for that particular technology.
Good
And
point.
at the end of the day, it's made to serve the customers. So being developers, we sometimes think like about the technical metrics, what is library, what framework, is it really great? But the customer really doesn't care.
They
Your
don't care.
application is running on PHP, Next.js, Vue, Angular.
Yeah, right.
So as long as it's performant, it gets the things done, it's user friendly, it doesn't matter. Uh, Personally, I think like React has a really great community, and Next.js as well, and Vue.js as well. So, and then quite a lot of number of libraries, and a big number of developers which are really putting their effort into building those which are putting their effort to building those libraries. So I would say pick anyone which works for you. Next.js is very good. It has like static site generation in build. SEO is very SEO friendly.
For sure.
Vue.js is very good. React.js is very good. It really depends what your requirements are. I mean, now Astro is quite popular too. It's a very lightweight, new technology which came up. So
Yeah.
it really depends what you're trying to solve. If those things which you're trying to solve, the technology matches that, please go ahead and use it. But don't use it because it's popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've definitely made that junior mistake where I'm like, we should use this because, it's the thing I was familiar with. Like, oh, we got to use React. And then sometimes, like, honestly, building an HTML, CSS, and JS site is completely, like, fine to do. If you have, like, a one-page landing page, like, do you really need a whole React and Next.js and a build system to compile it down in a CI/CD pipeline? Sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you just need to find the right tool for the right problem. I really like that take a lot. That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, we should just keep it simple. That's my, motivation, and that's my way to do things. Like I always like to keep things simple. The simpler it is, the easier it is to maintain as well. Because if 2 years later down the line you pick up the code and you're like, what is this? Then you have done something
Yeah.
really wrong.
Yeah, sometimes we want to throw all the things in a big pot, like, oh, I want to use Kubernetes and microservices and, deploy this on the cloud in a multi-tenant app. And I'm like, wait, what are we building here? Aren't we just building like an e-commerce store or something like that for like our non-existent customers? But yeah, I think, keeping things simple certainly will help the future you and other developers down the line. It's been really great speaking with you today. I really appreciate your viewpoints and nuanced takes on a lot of these questions. Where can people find you on the internet?
So people can look for me by the name of Dynamic Singh. That's my handle on any social media platform. I'm really happy to collaborate. So don't be shy to, DM me. I'm really looking forward to learn from you and share my experience as well. And it'll be very nice when people come to me and, DM me. It's always, I've met so many amazing people through the internet.
Yeah.
It's such a great opportunity. We live in this day and age. It's amazing.
100%. Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's how we met. It's really cool. We're in a group of creators as well. And it's been, I'm amazed at like writing on LinkedIn has opened up a ton of opportunities. And I've met just a lot of really cool people from doing it, including you. It's been.
They can look me on the website, dynamicsing.com. That's my website. And that will have all the details and links. I
also have the links at the bottom of this show in the show notes with all the links and things like that. And what about your book? Where can we find that?
Yes. So the book, you can look for the book at interviewchampion.com, and it will be launching soon. So you should sign up for getting updates. I also send quite a good emails, tips, insights for the interviews, popular questions and stuff like that from time to time until I launch it. So I'm in the process of recording my audiobook at the moment. And definitely, Brian, as you have a great audience, and I love the way I resonate quite a lot with you, and I love your content, what you do. So I have come up with a special offer for your audience.
You don't say. So, what is this offer?
So if they sign up using your link, which is basically a short link, which is dyn.si/Brian. Whenever I launch the book, they will get a special discount, or I will give them something free. And it's a way for me to give back to the community, because I have learned all from the community. It's not something I got from like some other planet or something like that. So I've learned from the folks around me. I've worked with very talented people. So this is my way of giving back to the community. And, why not? Where would I take this knowledge,
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and I'll get that link from you and also put that in the notes. Yeah, I really appreciate that. What a wonderful thing to do. That's really awesome, man. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to do that. Thank you so much as well.
Well, hey, really good having you on the show. Hopefully we'll have you back again. I can't wait to read this book. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much, Brian. It was my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
That'll do it for today's episode of the Develop Yourself podcast. To learn more about becoming a software engineer with us, then check out varsity.io. If you're not quite ready for that, then jump into our dev30.xyz program, which is 30 days of working on your mindset, habits, and JavaScript skills. Totally worth it. See you next week.